Penny. How are you?
You've already looked at some of that. I'll just talk about it a little bit. Hey, I'll give you my copy. Oh, you're good. I'll get one of those. It's all stuff you know.
Oh, yeah.
I just brought it in case you didn't.
Don't assume what I know. Almost time. 1 minute on this clock.
You want me to whistle for him? We never get him to come down here.
Stop.
Steve.
Steve.
I seen 21.
I don't know what year.
That's good.
Because I went in and edited, because somebody spelled their initials wrong. Okay, I'm publishing. There we go.
Yep.
Gosh, there's a lot of papers here.
Oh, thank you. Welcome to the Henry County Commissioners meeting of November 17th. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a short prayer?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we ask that this meeting would go according to your will, Lord. We ask you to bless our nation and bless our county. In Jesus' name, amen. Have the commissioners reviewed the minutes of the last meeting?
Make a motion to accept the minutes, last meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Have the commissioners reviewed the minutes of the special meeting that we had to discuss the ARP money and the sewer line?
Make a motion to accept as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Have the commissioners reviewed the minutes from the November 10th emergency meeting concerning the heating system in the judge's building?
Make a motion to accept as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Have the commissioners reviewed the minutes of the 2 meetings we had to interview attorneys on November 15th and November 16th?
Make a motion to accept.
I will second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will abstain as I was only there for about 5 minutes.
Motion passes 2-0 and 1 abstention. Have the commissioners reviewed the claims?
Make a motion to accept as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to accept the claims passes 3-0. Have the commissioners reviewed the payroll?
Make a motion, accept payroll.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to accept the payroll passes 3-0. Mr. Murphy, you are up.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to give you an update. I passed out at your station the Chamber magazine. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a wonderful publication that highlights the quality of life in our community, and I appreciate the Chamber putting that magazine out. Unfortunately, they asked me to write a column for the magazine on a regular basis. So this is their 10th year, and so my column this time focused on leadership as a competitive advantage for building community prosperity. And so I appreciate your leadership and the county government's leadership in this public-private partnership in trying to help Henry County grow. And so I commend that column to you for good sleep medicine, or to line the tray of your pet. Choice is up to yours.
Well, since you have written in it, I certainly will. As soon as this meeting's over, I'll be reading that.
All right, I appreciate it. As you know, we've gone through a tourism branding exercise with a lot of volunteers helping us. And so, basketball lives here. Today, Chris May from the Basketball Hall of Fame and myself were over at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And the event was sponsored by the Indiana Destination Development Corporation, so the state agency for tourism. And the purpose of it was it was called the Indiana Media Marketplace. So travel writers from all over the region, many from outside of the state, were there. And this is a trade show. And so, in our point of rebranding and rebuilding and moving forward with tourism, we don't have a brochure yet. But we managed to create these as a temporary, so that they can also kind of serve as rack cards as well until we do a brochure. And so I just wanted you to see these. Simple, easy to read, certainly not comprehensive. There's a lot of things that could have been put on here, but it hits the highlights. I guess the main thing is it references our website, which we hope to launch by the end of the year. So that's a quick update on tourism. Before I have my colleague Penny come up and talk about a couple things, are there any questions that I can answer? Thank you.
Thank you, Corey.
Good evening. Thanks for giving me a few minutes to talk to you. I sent you bullet points, and I put these up there for you. If you recall, I sent you some bullet points about the grant we're getting ready to apply for. So it's through the EPA, and just to briefly go through a few things. So right now we have leveraged $1.3 million in the last year with the grant that we are currently using, which is typically for 3 years, and we are less than $100,000 away from using it all. So it has been super helpful to our community. So leveraging is, there's been some sales of properties that have gone through phase 1 and or phase 2 that are preparing to sell or that have been sold. And so we go through and see what we've done, and then we make sure we keep up with what has been invested since then. And so I think we had 8 or 9 properties that have already turned over. Not all of them exactly like you might have thought, or maybe there's been an investment of equipment or something like that, but that is the goal. That is one of the metrics they measure, is how much investment you have. And typically you report it over a 3-year period. This is just what we were reporting in 1 year. So there's that. So this is not a cleanup grant that we're applying for. It's assessment only. And Every now and then, though, they'll have to pull tanks, like gas tanks, out of the ground or fuel oil tanks to see if the soil underneath it has contamination. So that is all part of the assessment. So we have gotten rid of tanks that very way. Even though it's not cleanup, it's still, they can only do it if they're looking for something underneath, like maybe a tank that is leaked or something like that, if there's evidence that that is appropriate. So there's that. The interest from the community is stronger than ever. We've spent about 70% of our grant. Actually, it's a little more than that now. So we haven't stopped accepting applications, but we are certainly not promising anyone we'll get to the end of a phase 2. Typically, phase 1s are about $3,500. I've seen phase 2s as high as $80,000, some as low as $30,000, just all according to what they're looking for. So we have some people in the pipeline that we have said we hope it'll be there, but we don't have all the bills in from the things that are being currently done. So last time it was a coalition grant, and we had Spiceland, Newcastle, and Henry County. Now it is just Henry County. There's some new grant guidelines, and so we're just Henry County. We don't need your signature on anything, which is different than it has been in the past, but all the rules of the grant change occasionally. So that is kind of a synopsis of the bullet points we put out for you to review. And there is no matching funding. I repeat, no matching funding. We've never spent a dime on anything other than using grant funding. But then if you will turn over to the next page, right here, starts with narrative information sheet. So I need letterhead from county government that will obviously have your names on it to put this on for the beginning pages of the grant. So do you want to hand me letterhead? Do you want to send it to me via email? Do you want me to request it from somebody? You tell me what you want me to do. And this information,
I think just request it from Ann Bankston. She'll send it to you.
I'd be happy to.
Actually, I have it. Ann doesn't. I have the letterhead.
You have it?
I'll request it from you then.
I'll email it to you.
Okay, that sounds great. So there's these 3 pages that will be on it. And it's not anything that anybody will sign, like I said. So that is my report on the grant, or the grant application. He's going to send it. We're working with Chris Shaw from SME, who has managed our other grants. It's due the first day of December, and so we're probably going to send it sometime next week. It's been written, revised, and it's ready to go. So I will send him that information. He'll put it on the letterhead, and he will be submitting it through Debbie. Debbie has the submission procedure. She does that.
Just out of curiosity, take like the small gas station. I'm sure you know where it is, in Sulphur Springs on the corner. It used to be a gas station many years ago.
Right.
I think there are tanks in the ground. I don't even know who the current owner is, but I know in the past people have been reluctant to buy it because it could have underground tanks.
Was that owned by a family of 3 people that were all still living in Florida? Or is that...
Perhaps at one time. I don't know who owns it now. But my question was, would this grant help people like that? Would they take those tanks out, and it's at no cost to that property owner?
It is at no cost to that property owner. We always remember it's a coalition of the willing. I believe we've tried to get that done before. If I'm thinking of the right scenario, it was 3 siblings and they all lived in Florida. And they wanted cleanup, and it was not cleanup, so they weren't willing to go through the phase 1 and phase 2 process. This was probably, I'll say, 5 or 8 years ago, but I will certainly look that up and see if it's changed ownership. So there's a lot of times when, like, we do it on commercial properties, and here's what happens. We write a narrative. We get the information from a realtor, from the person. We write this narrative, make it sound like a very compelling reason to spend our funding, and then if somebody has an attorney, they turn it over to the attorney, and it usually stops there. respectfully speaking. So it's like, we don't want to put ourselves to be known as a brownfield. And, you know, this is public funding. Not that, I mean, I don't give it to anyone but the owner, but if somebody really worked hard, they could find it. And so there's always that little bit of angst. That's sometimes why you can't get big old buildings assessed, because it gets stopped, because smart attorneys say, hey, there could be liability there for you, and then you're on somebody's list, which is accurate. I've never seen any enforcement come from that. I've actually seen at times people that are maybe indigent, that can't pay for cleanup in 100 years they couldn't, and our consultant will go to work and see if they can find any what's called POSI money. It's orphan sites that there's no way anyone can clean up, because it's not possible for someone to have the resources to clean them up. So that did happen one time in my many years of doing this, and somebody was in prison, I believe, and so they just helped. And it wasn't a huge cleanup. It was just that. So I don't want to advertise it as cleanup. I just want it to advertise it as it is. It's an assessment grant. But sometimes some tanks get pulled if that situation arises. Does that answer all your questions? Do you have any more? Okay.
Thank you.
You? Okay, I'm not done. I want to tell you one more thing. It's okay. I will. What?
Would it be possible, I mean, you guys supported the demand, right?
No, not at all. Do you want it in a motion to be supported?
Support or not?
Okay, I will make a motion that we support the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, U.S. EPA Brownfield Grant.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion to support the grant passes 3-0.
Thank you. I wanted to tell you, week before last, I went to my first, what is it? Conference. It's called I couldn't remember if it was a... Thank you. So he was going to go, but he couldn't go, so I went. It's called the Indy Mixer, and I wanted to just hit about 5 spots of things that site consultants told me, and a couple of them I knew there. There were like 50 or 60 people, and we got to sit around and talk to them and tell them about the shell building, and raise your hand if you have a shell building, and how big is it, and how tall, and all that. So anyway, I wanted to tell you some things that are new to the industry. Get ready. There are communities that have many resources that are giving people $10,000 to move there and work remotely, and they need to stay for 5 years. That is an incentive that is being offered. The site selectors, there were 10 of them, they really emphasized, you better know what kind of property that we're showing to somebody, and if it's got any environmental hair on it, it's good to have your due diligence done ahead of time, have a phase 1, have a phase 2, and sometimes those have to be done at our expense before we try to peddle a property where they go, well, are there any environmental conditions? And we go, well, we don't think so. You're marked off the list immediately if you don't know your stuff. There's been an increased emphasis on sustainability. There are municipalities that have a sustainability officer, and they said when you go to a site visit, when somebody comes to visit you, you need to be able to talk on your feet about sustainability. We have alternative sources of energy. We have pipelines that can help you get your cardboard through somebody that's sustainable as far as manufacture. They emphasize that everybody's not looking for the cheapest taxes and the cheapest land and the cheapest things. They're looking for people and communities that care about sustainability. They need you to clearly articulate what your community's like. Don't say you all get along well if there is strife in county government or city government. You need to present a unified front. You need to talk positive about your community. You need to capture meaningful stories from people that are in county government. If there's initiatives that you have, that we have, Jeff Ray working on trails, we need to have a Jeff Ray story. And it's fine to have someone like that around the table once you get into the selection process to tell about what you do, tell your good stories. And you need to talk about who you are over what you are. Those were my words of wisdom from my indie mixer. I was glad
Thank
to be
you.
able to attend, and you just build relationships with site selectors who know who you are. Thanks for listening. Thanks for accepting that, approving that grant.
Thank you, Penny. Next, we have an SJCA contract that we approved at our last meeting. However, we were missing the signature page. So we are going to approve it a second time and sign the proper page. So I guess we need a motion to do that.
Make a motion, we approve it again.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to accept the SJCA contract passes 3-0. Next item is, since we do not have our own juvenile detention center anymore, we contract yearly for secure beds through our probation department, Susan Lightfoot, and the new contract is coming up. There's a slight increase in cost from $125 to $130. We contract for 625 bed days for the year, and that has, for the past several years, been working out about right. So it'll be an increase from $78,125 a year to $81,250 a year, for an increase of $3,125. Any discussion or questions?
I make a motion to approve this as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to accept the secure beds contract passes 3-0. Next item of business is the contract for the new jail furniture. Sheriff, you have anything to say about that?
I think we finally got down to the bid we need, under $150,000. We put it out for free, only got one back, but we did put it out, posted for 3 different bids, and that's what we have.
So we're going with the National Business Furniture Company.
That's my request.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Incomplete office. Incomplete for the chair, office. Incomplete office supplies for the chairs. Furniture from National Business, the chairs from Complete.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the National Business Furniture bid for the furniture.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
And then I will make a motion to, did you say that was complete for the chairs? Complete office supply for the chairs at the new jail.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Next item is the Purdue and Henry County Extension Contractual Services Agreement. Joel, you have reviewed that.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you haven't?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's the standard one we get every year, isn't it, Debbie? The Purdue, oh, sorry. The Purdue extension, isn't that the standard one that we get every year?
Okay. Looks like it's about 3 pages. I can take a look at it if you want to come back to that item by the end of the meeting. Yeah.
We'll come back to it. Okay. That contract we have with Purdue is for $50,760, but we will come back to that. Next item is we approved this at a prior meeting, but there were some typographical errors, so we have corrected them, and so we're going to again. I will make a motion to approve the joint employment contract for the Henry County Highway Engineer.
Can you make the motion, since you accepted it already, can you just make the motion to accept the modifications in the typographical errors?
Are you making that motion?
No, I'm just asking you, you'd have to rescind your motion.
I will take back my motion and replace it with a motion to just accept the same document with the corrections that we have made to it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Next item is the Henry County Sheriff Compensation Agreement. In the old days, I guess the sheriff was paid a salary plus several different ways that the sheriff could make additional money. It has been somewhat streamlined, and now the sheriff just receives a salary. And that salary is based on, I believe, 70% of a prosecutor's salary. And in this case, the salary being proposed for the sheriff for next year is $108,388. Any questions or discussion? If no, do I have a motion to accept the sheriff's compensation agreement?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. We have a number of bonds. We have a bond for Leah Melton, Deputy Treasurer, surety bond in the amount of $100,000 from the Newcastle School Corporation. Is that just printed there twice, or do we have two separate bonds here for Leah?
Two separate bonds. It looks like 2 different years. Yeah, it's 2021 and 20.
Okay, right. I see it. We have another bond for Leah Melton. One is for 2021, and the other is for 21-22.
I make a motion to accept the bond as both bonds as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have the same situation for Megan Bell, Treasurer, a surety bond of $100,000 from the Newcastle School, one for 2020 to 2021, and the same bond, same amount for 21 and 22.
I make a motion we accept both bonds.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. We also have 2 items from the Newcastle Community School Corporation for a crime declaration. I believe it's insurance coverage for up to $100,000. One is for 2020, 2021, and the other is for 2021 and 2022.
I make a motion to accept as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. I believe we have one appointment to make. Liberty Township Trustee, there's a vacancy. We have one application from Stephen A. Kaufman.
I make a motion to appoint Stephen A. Kaufman as the Liberty Township trustee.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to appoint Stephen Kaufman as Liberty Township Trustee passes 3-0. We have a report from the I-70 project, an update report from Chief Deputy Jay Davis.
I can go ahead and take that if you want me to, Rick. So Jay sent me an update the other day. We're almost opened on the Knightstown side. Eastbound is now open to 2-lane traffic, and the on-ramp to the westbound lane will remain closed until traffic on the westbound side is back up, opened to 2-lane traffic. The wall removal will start November the 16th and will continue 24/7 until it's completed. So soon, hopefully before Thanksgiving, 70 will be opened from Knightstown through Greenfield, which can't happen soon enough. I expected a round of applause for that news.
We have 3 more reports, and you can save your applause to the end. We have item updates. One on the Broyle Sanitary Sewer Extension in Newcastle. We have another report on the Sanitary Sewer Newcastle Phase 4 Mitigation Project. And we have a notice of public comment, 065-44-210-00007.
I make a motion to accept the IDM update reports as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to accept the reports passes 3-0. We have a quote from ServPro of Henry County and Randolph counties. The quote is to remove mold and do repairs within what used to be the United Fund office. And that quote is for $2,904.49 to get the office back into a condition where it can still be used. It's a nice office, except that we had a little moisture come through the wall, which has been repaired, and it caused mold and some damage to some drywall. So, any questions about that proposal? If not, I'll make a motion that we accept the quote from ServPro for $2,904.49 to repair the office.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. I guess be a good time for Butch to come up now.
Good evening. I think I
Good
flooded you
evening.
with a lot of documentation, a couple books at least, of contracts. We started this process several months ago with some quotes to upgrade the 911 center, both the radio and the phone system. That was facilitated due to the fact that what should have been a 10-year process got shortened to 7 years, and the radios are no longer covered under warranty, nor can they get parts for them because they're outdated. So that started the process. We got quotes. I submitted them to you. We got some banking loan quotes. I handed you tonight, they're a sort of a breakdown of the cost, and I broke it down in what the quotes were versus what the contracts came in at. You now have copies of the contracts, and there was some variation between the quotes and the actual contracts. It came into the good to us, not much, but it did come in better, not worse. So the total equipment for the Motorola radios, the Motorola VHF radios, and the AT&T Vesta phone upgrade, when you added all them together, that comes to $718,235. Normally, on a 10-year note, we would always borrow money to purchase this and then go forward on another 10 years. And normally, it was always over $1 million. So the cost of the equipment has obviously come down since our last 7 years ago, since when we started the process. Now, it puts us back up close to $1 million because that breakdown shows that as of 8/4 of 2021, I got the payoff from the Regions Bank, which is the loan we're still paying on for another 3 years. The payoff was $314,707. Now, since I got that payoff, I got another bill, and I paid $32,000 on that bill. So, you know, interest, whatever, it should decrease maybe $200 and some thousand, $290,000 or $95,000. I don't know how that equates out. So, anticipation of the bank payoff being less than what it shows here on this form, there's a good possibility that the amount of money needed to be borrowed could be under $1 million, we hope, which will also reduce my quarterly paybacks for the next 7 years, because the money comes out of the 911 funds that pays us back. I think the council, when we presented it to them, they basically said that they computed it and said that you don't have quite enough money, but they would back about $8,000 short per year, and at the figure that we'd give them originally. So it may be $6,000 now or $7,000 now, but they've committed to covering that if need be. If the money's there, it'll come out of 911. Having said that, there's actually 6 contracts. There are 2 AT&T contracts.
Does this AT&T contract replace one of those that's in here that we were given before? The one that
Yes, the one I put the, yeah. And the reason for that is that if you looked at what you got in your book, which I originally sent you, and it shows that it was for 5 years. Well, the quote was that we received from them said 7 years, because we told them we're doing a 7-year loan, so we want to make sure that the equipment's good for 7 years. And that's what the quote come back. But then when they did the contract, they put 5 on it. So today at 3 o'clock, so that's hot off the presses. It took me a while to get them to respond back to me, but they did. And they said that was a glitch on their spot, and they have changed that from 5 to 7. So it is 7 years. So we're good for a full 7 years if we go forward, both with the radios and with the phone equipment.
So the process now is we approve the contract, it goes to council, they approve, and then you start the application process at the bank. Is that
Yes.
right?
And I guess just to bring you up to speed in case you didn't know, the Indiana Bond Bank had first give us a quote. It was 1.6% interest rate. The council asked that I present this project to the local banks, which I did. And I got returns from most of them that said they're not interested. A couple of them said they couldn't match that rate. One local bank did, verbally and in an email, indicated that they would match that rate. That's Citizen State Bank, and that's who I've been dealing with the last few weeks. And they're waiting on signed contracts. Once they get signed contracts, then they take it to their board for the official approval. And they only meet once a month, and they'll meet sometime the first week of December. So that's the process.
Butch, the only other thing I'd add, in a couple of these contracts, there were provisions that required some payment on the county's part if it canceled the agreement before installation. So I guess the only thing I'd ask would be, or maybe recommend, I guess it's probably a better term, would be that the final agreements not be turned over to Motorola until we get commitment for financing.
Yes, right. Yeah, my plans were is to ask Debbie or whoever's going to do it, once the contracts have been signed, if they get signed tonight and they are signed, is that we would then present them, they would be presented to the bank, and then the bank would do their process, and once the bank approved it and we were good to go at that point in time, then that's when we would even tell the 3 entities here that we're up and running.
So can we approve it contingent upon financing?
Yes, you can do that.
Do we need to approve all of them separately, or can we do them as a?
I think you could approve all 3 agreements, make sure the minutes reflect which 3 agreements they are, all subject to obtaining financing.
I'll make a motion to approve the Motorola 800 radio contract, the Motorola VHS radio contract, and the 911 AT&T phone upgrade contract contingent upon financing as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Butch.
Butch, before you take off, we've got another subject that I'm dealing with. I just got another text from Mr. Pickens regarding Greensboro Police Department.
Yeah.
Part of what's going on here is Greensboro is wanting to start their own police department. I told them I have no problem with that. The town council wants to do that. Part of that, they want an agreement to be added on to our radio system. Spillman, Dispatch, NCIC, and IDAS. They have proposed one chief, one police commissioner, is my understanding, with 25 officers. None of those officers live in Henry County. They're requesting to be put on our radio dispatch, and I've asked, and still being asked to meet again, to Iceland has a marshal service, Kennard has a marshal service. It's my understanding they're all grandfathered in that they were part of the original agreement for central dispatch for Henry County. Is that right?
Yes.
So there's no charge, extra charge there?
No. The only charge that out of 911 that we charge, because it was in the beginning of the Spillman, is Nicetown and Middletown both contribute money to the software maintenance for Spillman because they're on our Spillman, as are the other town marshals.
Which they do, correct?
Yes, they do.
They've made no proposal as far as finances. In running backgrounds on these individuals, we're not finished with that. I don't know what they expect. I can tell you what I believe and what I know. What I believe is they own a private security business and they're wanting credentials so that they can put their people out to work in different areas. That's what I know. What I think is that they're going to continue to push this. I get sued all the time. We know that. They're not getting any rookie. But at the same time, I am not comfortable with allowing these individuals to be on our radio system until we've done thorough background investigations. So the commissioners understand. I'll make sure that the council understands. I want legal to understand and know where I'm coming from. And if there's something I'm doing wrong, please tell me. But for right now, this is my stand. And they're going to continue to push, and they're going to continue to complain, and they're going to continue to preach from the pulpit how Rick McCorkle is endangering their children. And I'm not. We offer full service to the whole county. We do our job, and we're going to continue to do it. I also want it to be a matter of record that I am not saying they can't have their own police department. What I am saying is that if they want their own police department, they can have it. They just need to call 911 if they need assistance with something. We'll do the job. Did I misstate anything there, Butch?
Didn't miss anything, state anything. It's probably something that they probably need to know because I think it's going to come up.
Yes.
You and I had this conversation today earlier.
We did.
It has to do with they're questioning whether or not the sheriff has the authority not to let them come onto our dispatch center. And I made a phone call today to IPSC, which is the organization that runs the statewide 800 radio system for law enforcement, fire, and EMS. And I talked to one of the higher-ups or the people in charge, and basically what I was told was, because I presented that question to them, and it is each geographic area, each county has the responsibility. It's not state level, it's local level, as to who is allowed on the, we have a template, and that template has the different frequencies. It's in our radio. Every officer, fire, EMS all has that template, a template in their radios, whether it be mobile or portable. And it's the decision of the local counties whether they can or not. And explain to them how ours operates. We have a 911 board, and that 911 board consists of city and county, and that board would be the board that would basically say, yes, you can come on our radio system. Here's our template. They can't do it. They'd have to have us input the information into their the radios. It's sort of like the Spillman. The Spillman process was paid for and purchased with grant money back in 1989, and it was purchased initially as a countywide emergency service database: police, fire, EMS, and CAD, computer-aided dispatch. So when that was purchased and put in place, it took a few years for some of the agencies to come on because it was a change, and people sometimes don't like change. But over the years, every entity in this county has come on board. And the entities that were initially started have paid their share. I won't say fair share because sometimes it's not fair, but they've paid their share. So that is totally controlled by the 911 board also. So the Spillman's controlled by that, who comes on, who doesn't. And if we have somebody that has questionable background, do you really want them in Spillman having access to the database that we have in law enforcement, fire, and EMS? Because there's a lot of things in there that most people don't realize is in there. So we sort of need to guard that as much as possible. Local people, that kind of stuff, we can figure it out and deal with. But, you know, so just to give you an update, because I could see somebody from Greensboro coming to you and demanding that you tell the sheriff to let them have access to the radio system and to Spillman. And that's not necessary. Everybody's got a little bit of power, and the 911 board, because of the way the governing body's made here and the way the city and the county has the agreement between each other, that's the governing entity. So.
I don't. I mean, I think that summarized it.
Thank you. Next item is we have some quotes. We have a situation in the YOC building in the park. Happened several weeks ago. The pump and motor for the sprinkler system went out. And since that is a dangerous situation, the YOC evacuated the building, so it is now not being used. So we're trying to get it fixed as soon as possible. We've got two quotes, one from Ryan Fire Protection, and these quotes are remarkably different. There's basically, though, both quotes will put the system back in operation. The quote from Ryan Protection, Fire Protection Incorporated is $140,975. That would give us all new equipment, a new pump, and we have an alternate quote from Industrial Fire Services in Kokomo, which will give us a new motor, but a rebuilt pump. And Peerless, the company in Indianapolis that makes the pumps, will be the one that rebuilds it. An Industrial Fire Services quote is for $19,047. So although they are not identical quotes, the one is so much less than the other. Do we have any discussion on these two quotes?
My concern is we're not comparing apples to apples, and this $19,000 quote might turn into something closer to 140 with just a rebuild.
Well, I have spoken to the Industrial Fire Services. They assure me that their quote will get the system up and running, that Peerless will stand behind their pump, and that they're getting a new motor.
So it was my understanding there's a 2-year warranty on the rebuilt pump.
It doesn't give the warranty right here on the rebuilt pump. And I'm not sure Ryan's does either. It may.
I thought one of the conversations, that was what Peerless, since they were rebuilding the pump and the pump was their pump anyway, the only thing that was going to be used that was original was just the housing itself. The whole insides of the pump and new tags and all the components were going to be replaced with new.
Yeah, I believe that's how they described it. And I think we're reasonably safe with going with Industrial Fire Services. There may be a few things that they have to replace in addition to what they bid on, but they assured me that the system will work, it'll be safe, and they can get this equipment quickly. And right now, the building is not being used. So it's a big inconvenience to the YOC. They've had to evacuate the building and move the people over to the Muncie campus.
I'm not comfortable making a motion until we get some more information on this. Reading Ryan's summary of work, it says the existing fire pump and jockey pump sensing lines are piped together. This arrangement is not allowed by code, therefore Ryan Protection has included provision to replumb the existing sensing lines. So will the other company run into this same problem too, as it's not up to code? And that will add to their, did they take any of that into consideration?
I didn't hear exactly what you said.
In Ryan's quote, scope of work, it says the existing fire pump and jockey pump sensing lines are piped together. This arrangement is not allowed by code. Therefore, Ryan Fire Protection has included provisions to replumb the existing sensing lines. Is that included in the other quote?
No, it does not mention that. This quote from Industrial Fire is just getting a rebuilt pump, a new motor, and assuring that the system will work.
Rita Fisher, are they going to take the pump out and bring it back and install it?
Yes. Both, they would have to take the pump out. It's in a pit.
What if they get in there and say, oh, we can't install this for the way it's plumbed up? And they're going to have to charge you more money.
Well, either company could do that.
Well, both of them, both quotes that I saw actually had that anything extra is not included. Even the one for the $140,000 said that any additional items in it were not included in the pump and would be charged extra for. So I think we're going to be faced with that with whoever you go with.
Well, time is of the essence here because we have an evacuated building, but I am willing to take another day or two, and I suppose we could have an emergency meeting because this is an emergency.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a borderline situation, given that the building's currently out. It's not something that had happened just today. So, I mean, I think you could argue it that maybe technically isn't an emergency that they're talking about under the statute.
I just hate to wait until our next meeting in December.
Sure. I mean, you can do, as you know, you can do a meeting on 48 hours notice. So conceivably, you could find out tomorrow and then meet. Well, I guess that'd be Saturday would be the day you could meet. I don't know if that's real appealing, but it could be Monday.
Say that
Would
one
we
more
be in
time.
violation of their lease agreement if we don't move on this fairly quick, or are we okay?
I mean, you are required to make certain repairs under the lease agreement, and I think their maintenance obligation is up to a certain dollar amount, if I recall that lease correctly. And I think both these would be in excess of that dollar amount if they haven't already hit it this year. So, I mean, I do think you would potentially be in breach of that agreement if you don't get it fixed relatively soon.
So what was the type of meeting you say? You wouldn't call it an emergency meeting. What would you call it?
Yeah, you could just call a regular meeting on the 48 hours notice to take final action on something.
And we,
Just a special meeting.
A special meeting would be, the correct term.
okay, that sounds fine. We will table this.
Doing that in the form of motion.
I will make a motion that we table this and compare the two bids closer and make a decision. We'll have a special meeting just so that we can expedite this. But we will ask more questions and find out we're not comparing apples to oranges.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Next item is we have received the coroner's monthly report. Do I have a motion to accept the coroner's report or any comments on it?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think we left Joe off of I think we left Joe Copeland off of the meeting itinerary. have the coroner.
Okay. Motion to accept the coroner's report passes 3-0. Little oversight, we left you off, Joe, but you are up now. Joe Copeland.
Thank you. I only have one request this evening. With your permission, I'm applying for a federal aid grant to replace signs in the western part of the county, 4 western townships. We've done the east, or it's coming, it's already been bid and a letting with the state. So this winter, you're going to see some signs replaced, the eastern part of the county and the central part of the county. There's 4 townships that have not been included, and those are in the western part of the county. And I want to apply for funding from the feds to replace those signs. That's both regulatory and warning signs. No road name signs are involved. They will not pay for them. So what I need is your permission to apply for the grant. Number 2, I need a financial commitment letter, and I put it together. You have to have your application number and the amount that you're committing to, and this is the total amount is $69,265.18. Total cost of the project is estimated at $692,651.80. It's paid 90/10, so we're only going to have to pay 10% for all those signs. There's a little over 1,500 signs that need to be replaced from our sign inventory.
You're presenting this tomorrow for the financial commitment from the council tomorrow, is that correct?
Yes.
So you're just asking us to approve the application?
Yes, and then I'll need a signature from Ed on the form, on the letter to submit to NDOT.
I make a motion, we approve it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. I can sign it right now.
Okay.
That's all you have, Joe?
Yes, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Steve, do you have anything? I was just making sure Steve wasn't left overlooked as well. Sorry.
Are there any other department reports, Angela?
I too just need permission to move forward with a grant application. The title of it's a cooperative agreement for emergency response, public health crisis response, and it is a total of $220,000 for the next 2 years to provide staffing for the health department, and specifically to work with create a position of a school liaison to work with the school nurses to kind of deal with the aftermath of the pandemic with the school systems for the next couple of years.
I make a motion to approve the grant process for Angela.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Angela, can you give us a copy of that?
I emailed you, baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Angela. Next item, Sheriff, do you have anything to report?
I think I've covered mine.
Okay. That's good for departments. Yes.
Question before you move on. Yeah, because I've had a lot of people asking about your December meetings. Are you guys keeping your December meetings as, I just had several people call this week and ask,
I thought we had decided we were going to.
just keep them the same?
We believe we're leaving them as scheduled.
Okay.
Forgot Rita. Park Board, come up, please.
Well, the only thing I have is, we are going to have a Christmas drive-through again, like we did last year, and we need more people to come out and decorate the shelters. And anybody interested, call the park department, or the Memorial Park, and talk to the secretary about it. And also, we are looking into having lunch with Santa, and we need volunteers to help with the kids and stuff there.
Well, we can put it on the county website. That'll give you a little publicity.
Who does that?
What's that?
Who would I call to put it on the website? I mean, I put it on the park, but
If you put it, do you have a brochure or whatever? If you call Jeff Lutz, he'll put it on the website.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Do you guys want to move up to department reports? I said, you guys want to move up to, yeah, we can just move you up.
All right, so a couple months ago, Ann, I think, sent out an email for applying for an IPEP grant before I knew there was a whole process.
Would you please speak into that microphone?
I applied for a grant a couple months ago, an IPEP grant. We've had 3 I can think of in the last year, some IPEP claims, workman's comp claims, so I thought I could make a good case for it. Uploaded some more supporting documentation to them, and we got word that we did get awarded that grant. So I brought it today to get it signed. It's $25,000 for us to get another power cot. We have 2, which is great, and then we have 1 manual. A manual is useful in a lot of circumstances. Patients don't seem to be getting smaller; they seem to be getting bigger. So having a 3rd power cot, our goal is to have 3 trucks in service at the same time at some point every day. And so someone's always got that manual cot. So it can cause a lot of injuries, lifting. Sometimes you got to lift, almost deadlift from the floor. If that's a heavy patient, that's a lot on your back. So I thought we made a good case for a power cot and a power load system. They agreed, awarded us. And the power load system, if you didn't know, is you hook the power cot into the back of the ambulance, and basically you just push a button and it loads itself. Huge as far as saving some backs and some arms and some legs. And they awarded it to us, so I would like to get that signed. And the only other thing I had that I wanted to mention, since I was going to be here, we did purchase 5 new Zoll Aed monitors. Our Aeds were all different. We had 3 that would be the same, and then 2 that were different, all different battery systems. Doesn't make it easy when you're purchasing new AED pads and replacements, and they expire, and plus they're used a little bit differently, so you have to make sure everyone was trained on how each one did. They're the same, but they're different, and checking them and making sure that they're good to go every day. You got to train them on all of them. So we purchased 5 that are all the same. It's what everyone in the county uses. It will go in if we had to call for a medic. Those are going to plug into theirs, go to the hospital. They're all the same now. But that leaves us 5 AEDs that, 4 that we're going to save 1 for a backup if one of those went bad. And I would like to get permission to donate those to people that can use them. Some nonprofits. We were thinking maybe the men's shelter. Look to see who doesn't have them, because they can potentially save a life in the right circumstance. And we would teach them how to use them and make sure that they knew how to take care of them and maintain them, but we don't want them to go to waste, and someone out there can use them. So that's all I got.
So first of all, I'll make a motion to accept the grant that you presented, so we can go ahead and get that signed.
Okay.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
And on the AEDs, Joel, donating to not-for-profits, I know you talked about putting one at the Smith Building
I was
and one in
thinking
here.
if they didn't
but
already
outside
have
to
one.
the community, like the men's shelter or any other not-for-profit, do we need to, is there a certain procedure we need to follow to do that?
Probably need to approve it at the time you want to actually make that donation separately.
Okay.
Okay. You want to sign this now? And I think they award us January, second week of January.
Mandy finished? You finished? Yeah, she's finished. Okay, next item is a resolution authorizing the expenditure of coronavirus local fiscal recovery funds and creating a spending plan, which is resolution number 2021-11-17-013. Reason we have this tonight, as I think most of you know, we have received $4.6 million in ARPA funds, and there are regulations on how we can spend them, but one way certainly is for sewage problems, and we have a sewage problem where we thought belonged to the city, and we have recently found out it belongs to the county. So it is, there is a sewage line that goes from the prison all the way into Newcastle. It was put in about 20 years ago, and it is failing. It is a 12-inch line. It has had several repairs, and they do not think it's going to be sufficient once we tie our jail into it and several other properties that perhaps will be tied into it. So the proposal is to make it into a 16-inch line. And the state has estimated that the county portion of that line is 10%. They estimate the total cost of the project in the $9 to $10 million range. So the state has asked the county for $1 million contribution to that. We are not required to do it. If the state were to put in the 12-inch line and just do that, we would only have to pay $600,000. But since it is not a good idea to just replace it with another 12-inch line, when we're adding the jail and several other properties, the cost is going to be $1 million, and we need to take that, since we don't have $1 million from any other source right now. It's going to take some of that ARPA money that we have. So this resolution is to enable us to take the $1 million as our contribution to the new sewer line that goes from the prison and the new jail into Newcastle. Is there any discussion or questions?
This plan, this is the beginning stages of our ARP plan and is fluid and will be amended as we move forward. So this is just the starting off point for the county's ARP plan. Also included in this is we were advised that the county should set back about 10% of the total funds for ARP to pay for professional fees and legal fees as this process continues. So it includes not only the sum of $1 million for the repair and upgrade of the sanitary sewer line, it also includes $1 million for the professional and fees and service fees. And this plan will be the starting off point and will be the plan that will be altered as we move forward in this process of spending funds.
Yeah. Stated correctly.
I make a motion to accept Resolution 2021-11-17-013 as presented.
I'll second as much as I don't like having to pay to move crap, but I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to accept the resolution passes 3-0. Now, we have already done the EMS grant, which is this one. Next thing is the Veterans Treatment Court grant. Is anyone who can speak to that? First time I looked at it.
This is a renewal grant that we get every year to run the Veterans Court. It pays for the
We're
Veterans
just
Court.
reapplying.
It's just the state renews it every year.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the Veterans Treatment Court grant for $12,685.69 as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Moving on to new business. Preserve Henry County Incorporated would like to make a short presentation. Jeff Ray.
Well, you're not Jeff, right?
It's okay.
My name's Mary Ann Garrard. I am the Secretary of Preserve Henry County, and I think one of the founding members, along with Jeff and Richard. We are presenting, I was here, I think, a little over a year ago, to talk about the Henry County Annex building. We would like to make a offer to purchase the building as is condition. Am I too short? For $25,000. We would allow the county 120 days after closing to remove all county-owned materials from the building. Preserve Henry County, at our cost, will provide 2 30-yard dumpsters for county-determined trash. Henry County SWMD, at their cost, will provide 2 on-site shredding trucks for any documents the county determines will need to be shredded. Preserve Henry County will restore the building exterior. First action to re-roof the building at a cost of approximately $25,000. We will maintain sufficient insurance and pay county property tax assessments. I have copies for you all that I can bring. And then I believe September 14th, 2020, we presented a quote of the work that we intend to do to the building to stabilize it. What we do is not make money off of these projects. We stabilize buildings, and then we want to sell them at a reasonable cost. Essentially what we put in our equity to a business, or our example is Sjca Boutique downtown on Broad Street. We stabilized that building, and they've done amazing things on the inside, and it brings a lot of business into the community, and Broad Street is not dead after hours. It's a beautiful addition to the downtown area. So our goal is to do the same with this building. There are some historically significant items on that building that we would like to preserve and maintain. So I can read off the proposal, but I believe it would be in the minutes from September of 2020. The only change to that quote is the brick restoration and tuck pointing. We got an additional $10,000, so our total, which before was $290,000, is $300,000 now to restore that, and we would get grants and outside funding to do that. Do you have any questions?
Oh, we've heard the proposal. I can tell you that we do consider that a valuable building, not so much in terms of money, but certainly it is a valuable building when you consider it's part of the courthouse block, and we would like to preserve that building. We have not decided exactly how to get rid of the building yet, but certainly the county does want to turn it over to a group similar to yours. The Newcastle RDC has made a proposal to have us turn it over to them, in which case I believe they would also allow a group like yours to make a proposal to them. We haven't decided whether we're going to do that yet. However, we are trying to preserve that building, and certainly you guys would be in contention to make a proposal like you have made to help restore that building and keep it and put it back on the tax rolls and have it be a contribution to the downtown area. So we are seriously considering that. We just don't know how to go about it yet.
Okay. Well, it was the first time around was a learning experience for us, but we have connections with people that are committed to the same thought process we are and want to restore the building and keep the integrity of it, and are mindful of that. And so I feel like we've cultivated some good relationships in our first project that we completed a couple of years ago. So I will bring these around to you. You have them.
Thank you.
You can, yeah, you can do
I'm going to make a motion that we table this because there are other people who are interested, and we need to look at the legal process of what we need to go through instead of just saying, sure, we're going to sell it to you.
I will second that motion that we table this. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to table this offer passes 3-0. Jeff, you have?
It's okay. I come before you representing Healthy Communities in Henry County, and I brought you the proposal that the letter of support for the Next Level Trails Program grant that we want to submit on December 1st. The Healthy Communities and the county and Henry County government have had a relationship and a partnership for 17 years. Whenever we started the trail projects with T21 grant in 2004 for the first phase of the Wilburite Trail. And so we've continued that partnership over these last 17 years, whether we were receiving the trail corridor from DNR back in 2009. We received a grant in 2008 for the construction of the Natural Heritage Trail on county-owned parcels that the DNR had donated to you. We acquired some additional parcels with another T grant on the Natural Heritage Trail in 2009, and we completed that around 2012. We weren't able to acquire every parcel, but we did acquire quite a few. We then, in 2010, we've opened up Woolly Bear in Kennard and west of Kennard with just volunteer help, and that also being on county ground, and now that trail is about 1.4 miles. And then we also then were involved with a DNR Recreational Trails Program grant in 2015 that you also sponsored at the time in partnership with us, and then we added on the 1.1 mile addition to the Wilbright Trail out along 150 in Hillsborough Road. So that was completed in December of 17. So, and of course we've been out in Memorial Park and helped establish trails out there. So we've had a long history with the commissioners in putting together trail projects and getting those accomplished. So this is our next try. This is a competitive grant, just like the first two rounds were. We partnered with Middletown Parks, Fall Creek Township Parks, to help get the Honey Creek Trail started, and that grant was given to us earlier this year, and so that was in excess of $1.8 million. So we've been pretty successful in bringing dollars to the county to get trail projects.
How much is this grant for?
This grant, we're not sure yet. We haven't done the complete cost analysis, but when you start talking about a potential of 6 miles of corridor on the Wilbright Trail out in the Messick to Moreland area, you're going to be somewhere around $3 million. So it's just another substantial grant that because we have bridges to repair out there. We have 4 bridges that we're going to have to repair and redeck. And then crossings, the ADA touchpads crossing at the different streets or the roads that we have out there. So there's a cost to do that concrete work as well as put down asphalt. So this will be an asphalt trail, so it will be additional expense for that. So that is an 80-20 grant. DNR provides 80%, and we have to find 20% of the local match for local match. So we know we have access to potentially, if we get the READY grant, then this project is in that plan. We also know that the acreage that the DNR did transfer title to us in 2009, that can be used as, once we get the appraisal done, it can be used as local match credit. So, and we did the same thing with the Honey Creek Trail up there. That was our substantial part of that match up there, was the acreage that's in that project, that 5.3 miles. So we'll be able to do that. Healthy Communities has raised additional funds and has been since we started doing trails, so we have a substantial amount of money. We've also raised some money to help with maintenance and opening clearing expenses, so those can be used as a local match. So we raised $22,000 to help with that. So we're in the process, so we'll be able to use that towards this grant with the local match. So we've got potentially, we don't know for sure where all the 20% goes, but if we're able to, as the county, the region gets the READY grant, then we're going to be able to, because that is set up to be 20%. So we also have East Central Indiana RDA funds available. That RDA has allocated $130,000 for future trail projects, so we can can utilize some of that grant, either all of it or part of it, to help with this construction. So we've got many avenues that we've worked over the years with all the other planning, whether it was regional cities, it was the Henry County Comp Plan, the Stellar Communities Plan that we did, always shows a lot of support for trails whenever they do survey the citizens of Henry County about what do they want to see. And so we're always up there. So we know that based upon, with the letter here, we need for you to give us jurisdictional approval for the construction in Prairie and Blue River Townships. That's just a condition of the grant. We know that the Department of Natural Resources deeded the county back in 2009. So there, on this trail, there's 41 acres available for this development and construction, so we can use that as local match. We, of course, we could do the grant and go through all that process, and you are partnering with us, knowing that you are allowing us to develop the trail on the trail corridor that you received back in '09. So that's part of this letter here also. And then we have purchased almost 2.8 acres, whether it's been through donation, permanent easement, we're working on that, and actual other donations and purchase. We're at about 2.8 acres of additional corridor that we purchased for this very project. And so the town of Moreland has committed a small parking area for our trailhead in Moreland. They did that Monday night to help us with this project, and once we get the grant, if we get the grant, because it is competitive, if we get the grant, then they're going to finalize that donation to Healthy Communities for the trailhead parking area there, which would be behind the old general store. So we'll have that. We plan on having another trailhead parking area at Messick Road, just south of 300 North up there, because there's plenty of room for it there. The width is 150 feet wide, so we can put a parking area there. So we're looking at about every 4 miles and to have a parking area there. So, and then we hope that if there's a need, then maybe we can use some of the ARP funds, because DNR has told us that some communities have already committed ARP funds to trail projects, so we would at least want to be in that discussion. So we ask for your support and signing our letter for all those items I just discussed. So,
Any questions?
I'll make a motion. Do I have to say it all? I'll make a motion to do what you said.
you can make a motion that supports the letter of.
There we go. I make a motion to support the letter that you have presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to support the Trails letter passes 3-0.
Okay,
Thank you, Jeff.
The one other item that I have is about the use of culverts by the county on county ground, and also that is on part of the trail corridor. So we've done that in the past. Whenever we extended the trail, the Woolly Bear out west of Kennard, we utilized 2 culverts by the county because it was on county ground, and it did in the ditch whenever we crossed Grant City Road. So we're looking to want to do that at Messick, on Messick Road, so we can pull in there into the future parking area and then be able to utilize that when we're starting construction and doing maintenance and everything out there, because we've been working so far in the last 11 months out there clearing almost 3 miles of corridor, and this would certainly help being able to get in and out of there. We also have, and it's not on a road, but it's a part of a grass waterway. Not too far from, it's just, what is it, about half a mile or so from Messick Road and the intersection there. It's the Grass Waterway's coming off the field, the private farm field, and on and through county ground, which is part of the trail corridor. So we've asked the county highway department to provide a couple culverts for that. Normally, as I said, they normally just do it in the ditch, but I know that Joe has said that there's a couple used 24-inch diameter culverts that they would be able to put those in there. And then that connects onto the 48-inch culvert that's there, what the railroad utilized whenever it was in use. So we haven't had, in the past, we haven't incurred any expense because it has been utilized on county ground that happens to be off the trail corridor. So I don't know how if you want to, if that's okay, asking it to see if that's okay to be able to have the highway department do that. So what are your thoughts?
Joe, you and Steve, as far as water drainage and installing.
No, because it's not, that the Huffman ditch is further east. And you have jurisdiction over that, but you don't have anything to do with Little Blue on west, right? Yeah. But this is water coming off the Grass Waterway that's about, I don't know, just coming off the farm field, and it drains underneath the rail corridor and continues on northwest. It's already flowing now because it's coming out of the farm field, utilizing the Grass Waterway that they've installed. Sure.
This is not as time sensitive as the other letter, right?
Exactly, it's not.
So let's let them take a look at it, and we'll talk about it at the next meeting.
Okay, good enough.
That's good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is the Euclid Public Sector E911 liability coverage renewal. It's an insurance policy, I believe, for our 911 service. Right. Okay, our portion is $4,803.33. Any discussion?
I make a motion to approve the payment of this insurance policy.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Next is the county's portion of dues for the National Association of Counties, NACO, and it's $989 a year.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Number 4 on our list there, Marcus Hawthorne, SBA Edge. He was going to travel 4 hours to come to this meeting to make a presentation about broadband. And I thought, knowing how much we had to cover in this meeting, I called him, and he's going to come at a different time to make his presentation, so he won't be coming tonight. Next item is selection of a county attorney. We advertised and received 3 applications. One application was from Joel Harvey, from Hayes, Copenhagen, Kreider, and Harvey. Another application came in from Jeremy Bell. And a 3rd application came from Maura Hoff and John Madison of the DeFuhr Voren Law Firm. We have interviewed all 3.
I am going to, because of scheduling conflict, I was only able to spend about 5 minutes in one of the interviews, so I'm going to abstain from the discussion and voting on this since I was not a part of the interview process.
So do I have a motion to select one of these attorneys?
I'll have a little bit of discussion. This has been a trying year for all of us, and with past events, we've had some good candidates who have applied for this. I want to thank Joel for stepping in and taking care of business. I think we need to have a little continuity at this point with the way the business is being handled in the county as far as legal. And I think trying to get someone new up to speed might prove to be a little bit difficult and time-consuming, and I think may negatively impact what's going on right now. So with that being said, I make a motion that we appoint Joel Harvey as our county attorney.
I will second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have 2 ayes and 1 abstention, so Joel Harvey, congratulations. You are the new county attorney.
Thank you.
You're not so new, but you are somewhat new, the somewhat new county attorney.
Thank you.
And thank you for your help during this trying time. And the last thing we have is we received a letter from a student, looks like an elementary student, and Bobby answered the letter. So I guess it would be appropriate if you could go ahead and read the letter.
We received a letter from Mr. Charlie Corbin, who lives in Morristown, and he says, "My name is Charlie Corbin, and I'm a 4th grader at Morristown Elementary. I'm researching Henry County for our Wander, Indiana project. I'm wondering what information you could share with me about your county, and do you guys have any famous people? Sincerely, Charlie Corbin." I responded to his letter, and unfortunately I haven't printed it off, but I also invited Mr. Corbin and his 4th grade class to come to Henry County and take a tour. And what did we call those when we went on them in school? I can't think of the name.
Field trip.
Yeah, sorry. Take a field trip to come here and learn more about the county. So I just thought it was a feel-good. It was nice to get a letter asking for information. So, I will send him a copy of the minutes of the meeting so that his name is, he forever has a copy that his name is in the archives of our meeting.
Okay, thank you. And we have that one thing we skipped over. Have you had a chance to review
I've taken
that?
a look at it. I think it's the same contract we've signed in past years. It's the $50,000 payment due in April of each year and for the ag extension services.
I make a motion to accept the Purdue Extension Services Agreement as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Is there anyone from the public who has any public comments? If so, do we have if we do not have any public comments, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.